Hey guys, welcome to this video. This is a really important video and it's going out to everybody who's inquired from me how to buy a house in Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, Belen, Los Lunas, surrounding areas. So I'm going to break it up into the major components. It's kind of like an overview of what you need to do. It's going to be fast, but I'm going to follow it up with other videos that go into detail about each individual subject. So the first obvious question is, do you want to buy a house? Let's assume the answer is yes, because you clicked on my website and you were looking at houses, right? So you go on the search and you find a bunch of houses. You can use that search real easily. You type in the locations. You can break it down by zip code, by town, by city, by the size of the house in square footage, by the number of bedrooms, pretty much anything you could think of. 2-story, 1-story, single car garage, you name it. You can break it down. And then you get your list, right? Then you look at the list, you see which ones you like. You call your real estate broker, and that would be me. And you say, hey, can we go look at these houses? We go look at the houses, you see one you like, and you place an offer, and hopefully your offer gets accepted, and you buy the house. Now, that's the general idea. We all know this. However, there are some issues that are going to come up. First, and absolutely most important issue is going to be, how are you going to finance this house? Why? Because it comes up on day one. When you walk into that house and you say, oh, I like that one, Avery, let's go back and write an offer. When I write this offer and I email it to the seller's broker, I have to attach a letter by a licensed mortgage broker that says you qualify in advance for a mortgage equal to the amount that you'd need to borrow to buy that house. Now, you may be the only one offering on that house, or there may be 5 other offers. I'm sure if you're in the market, you've already heard stories that certain houses, sometimes you get 5, 10 offers. But even if you're the only one, the seller will not even look at your offer unless it has this letter attached. And I've got 3 or 4 different mortgage brokers who can help you with that. Each of them specializes in different types of mortgages, but let's talk about your situation. So in order to qualify, and I suggest you do it in advance before you even look at a house. Why? Because what if you just happen to find the perfect house and you're going, oh, shoot, I don't have the letter. And then it takes you a day to accumulate all your paperwork. Now, some people can qualify in 20 minutes. Here's my W-2. Here's my driver's license. Thank you very much. I'm good to go. Some people have more complicated situations. They own their own business. They've got, a lot of family members who are contributing, things like that. So you definitely want to get this done in advance. Now, here are the basic criteria. Now, understand, I'm not a loan officer. What I'm giving you are general guidelines that you can use to decide if you can even do this. So number 1, best case scenario, you have 620 credit or better. Why? Because if you have 620 credit or better and you have a really good job, you can probably purchase a home with no money down. Now, no money down is kind of a misnomer. You still have to pay a few thousand in closing costs. But the way it works is you can get an FHA loan for 96.5% of the purchase price, and then a secondary mortgage for the other 3.5%. So essentially, you don't have to put the down payment. You still have to pay the closing costs, and they vary. It'll be a few thousand, between 3 and 5, let's say. You can do that if you have 620 or better and a really good, good job. I mean, consistent, right? W-2. Now, let's say you don't have 620. Well, anywhere between 620 and 580 on your scores, you can do what's called an FHA mortgage, meaning FHA will finance 96.5%, which means you've got to come up with a down payment of 3.5% of the purchase price. So I'm going to use a round number so I can multiply in my head while we're chatting here and I don't have to pull out a calculator. $200,000 house, 3.5%, you would need $7,000 to put down plus closing costs. Now, there are other incidental costs like inspections and things like that. So let's just call it approximately $12,000 down. So if your credit is between 580 and 620, you could do one of those, roughly 12,000 down for a $200,000 house. Obviously, if the house is more, it's going to require a little bit larger down payment. And as I mentioned, 620 or higher, you could do this no money down. Now, you may say, well, most people who have 620 or higher also have a deposit. It's not necessarily true. Everybody's story is different. Some people just got a great job. They just came out of school. They've got great credit, but they just started working and they're making a lot of money. So they need that no money down. Some people had one or two minor setbacks. They missed a payment, so their credit is low, but they've been saving up. So they have the money. So everyone's circumstances is different. You just have to figure out where you are. Now, third scenario, if your credit is lower than 580 but above 500, you can still purchase a home. But because you're a higher risk, let's face it, according to the credit bureau, the lenders would require more money down. So for example, you would have to put down 10%, or in this case, on a $200,000 house, you have to put down 10% of $200,000 plus the closing costs. So it starts getting pretty steep, if you see what I mean, right? So obviously, better credit means less money down. Really good credit means possibly hardly any money down. Now, let's say you don't fit into any of those situations. Well, the mortgage loan person that I refer you to can do your calculation. And let's say they say, well, we're sorry, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, you just don't qualify. So you've got two options. The first option is they'll do a credit simulation and they'll figure out approximately how long it'll take to get your credit up high enough to be able to reapply, right? Because if you pay off certain loans or you just do certain things, they'll give you a list. Usually it's not that big of a list. You just do them, and in a few months, let's say you're at 560. Now you'll be over at 585 or something, and you're back in business. So one of the things you want to do is get this simulation done, so you know if you can't do it now, you know approximately they'll tell you how many months it's going to take to get it done. And then if you really want the house, or a house, I should say, because the one you wanted is going to be sold by then. But if you really want a house, you'll do what you need to do to get it done. Now, let's say you're thinking, well, you know, it could be 2 years before I even get anywhere near 580 and getting anywhere near even 3.5% down for whatever reason, right? No judgments here, right? So then the next option is this. Instead of buying a house right now, you can rent to own. Now, I'm a realtor with Coldwell Banker, and we're affiliated with a company called Home Partners, and they've bought like 19,000 homes in the last, I don't know, few years. And what they do is they take the homes right out of multiple listing, they buy it, and then they lease it back to you or rent it back to you. So you pay a market rent, and you can do a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year lease, right? You can rent a beautiful home instead of living in the place you're living in. And anytime during that 5 year period, the minute you qualify, based on what I explained in that first section, you just call them up and say, hey, I want to buy my house. And you get a mortgage broker, which hopefully you've already gotten. You get qualified and you buy the house that you're already in. Simple as that. Okay? So certainly that is a viable option number 2. So the general concept is you try to buy a house now. You go to a mortgage broker, which I'll get you. You know, give them your paperwork. It can all be done over email. Let them qualify you. And based on that, you know how much of a house you can buy. You go back to my website and you type in the price range. Let's say you qualify for $250. So you might type in anywhere from $200 to $250, and you know how many bedrooms, what areas, and so on and so forth. You get the list, you call me up, and we go look at the houses. Usually it takes about 45 to 60 days to close on a house once you make the deal. Now, to make the deal, you could find a house today, or you could be really particular and you could take, as many months as you want till you find that perfect house that you're going to stay in for a really long time. Okay, so that's the general idea, guys. I'm going to make some other videos that go into more and more detail on the houses themselves, on how to qualify, things like that. But for now, all I can say is this. I'm going to put a link below that allows you to search on houses. Click on the link, search to your heart's content. If you have trouble setting up a search, email me, tell me what you want, and I'll set the search up for you. If you're saying to yourself, well, gee, Avery, I already know I don't have the 10,000 and I don't have a high enough credit, but I really want to get out of this apartment, blah, blah, blah. Okay, send me an email and just say rent to own. And I will send you the website for Home Partners, which will have hundreds and hundreds of the same houses on it. You can search those houses. What you need for the rent to own is as follows. $45,000 total household income. It could be you, your husband, your wife, your mom, your sister, your cousin, who's ever living in the house. Total $45,000, average credit score of 580, and 2 months rent, which is pretty much about what it takes on most rental applications. So one or the other. If you're in the market for a house, call me. I'll help you. Free advice. I don't charge the buyers. The sellers pay me to do all this. So you don't have to do a thing. Just ask me the questions. I'll gladly help. All right, so it took a little longer than I thought. This turns out to be a 12-minute video. I'm signing off. I'll put the links below. Good luck, guys. It's going to be one of the smartest decisions you've ever made in your life to buy a home, especially now because interest rates are so low. See you soon.